Let's see. And is it going?
It is going.
And we going.
All right. So, welcome to the Zooming Who's podcast. I'm your host, Austin Husky.
And I'm your co-host for the evening, Wolf.
And it is MFF 2022 in review.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It's a lot of stuff to talk about.
You've been there from Thursday to Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I was only planning on wanting to do one day. In fact, initially, I wasn't sure if I was going to go at all. Ended up staying Saturday and Sunday. Actually, it was kind of nice. And we're going to talk about the con as a whole. So let's do like how I normally do things, go day by day. So for Thursday and Friday, it is all on you because I don't have anything to talk about for those days.
You're gonna put me on the spot.
Yes, I am.
I'm perfectly honest. Outside of maybe hanging out with my friends the entire weekend, there's not a whole lot that I really remember too much from MFF.
You got shit faced.
I did get shit faced.
Okay, so that's why you don't remember.
Well, maybe not that shit. Well,
it's possible.
First night, I definitely got super shit faced. I was out on the floor, outside the hotel room that we were at the room party for. Lived up to my badge's namesake the first night with 2 shots worth of Malort because I have no soul. Because why not?
Did you start with a full bottle?
No, so I was thinking of getting a bottle this entire weekend, and for whatever reason, I just couldn't find any.
Because everyone's been buying it knowing that you would have it.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Everyone's trying to get you to fail.
And
everyone wants to see you fall.
And that is why you fail.
That is why you fail.
No, but so somebody, I can't even remember who it was, but we were at a friend's room party Thursday night in the main hotel, and I see a fresh bottle of Malort. I'm like, yo, whose is this? I want some now.
Was it a bottle of Jepson's or something?
Yeah, it was Malort. Full unopened bottle because no one would touch that shit. Because they all know.
The seal's still unbroken.
But I knew. And I also knew that I have no soul and I'm I guess at this point, a masochist when it comes to alcohol. So
everybody knows you as, oh, it's the Malort dude.
The Malort. I need to get a badge commission of me just holding a bottle of Malort.
And then have another badge of you, like, handing a drink to someone else. And then...
your character here sticker pack?
And then a character here sticker pack of them puking.
I could do that.
Or gagging on said Malort.
So let's see. Thursday, did the Vax line, which, of course, for everybody was incredibly annoying.
Talk about that. Talk about the whole experience of LineCon, because it seems every year it gets a little insane. So what happened this year?
So this year, they did it in the same place that they did the year prior.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I don't remember if they did it third party last year, but they did it third party this year. So they weren't even like furries that were doing the vaccine check.
That was strange. Interesting, but that was strange.
They also, I think this is one of the first cons that didn't tell people to be up to date on your shots, because at this point everybody was like, or at least some of the people I knew were already on their 4th booster now, like have had 4 different COVID shots. And they just said, hey, if you don't have your first 2 already, get those. And if you have your 2, then all we're requiring you to have is your 3rd. After that, we don't care. I'm like, all right, solid. I'm good to go. So went through that. That was honestly the worst line. And I've also learned that there is no reason for anybody to pre-reg anymore. Because the pre-reg line wasn't really moving, and the people that were doing it at like the same day registration, they were getting through it faster than they were.
So normally, for those that don't know, there's pre-registration online before an event where the theory is quick and easy, simple badge pickup. You get in line, you might be in for a bit, you give them ID, they look it up in their system, they get a sheet of, a packet stack of paper with your name, your email, your badge name, and a badge number, and they say, okay, sign right here to say you are who you are. You get your badge, and then you're on your way. Normally, that's a very, very easy thing to do for most conventions. This is now the very first time where where registering at the event, which normally tends to be the biggest pain in the ass, because that means it has to go through their systems at the moment. They got to print out a badge, and you might be waiting in line for a while before you finally get your badge.
Yep.
This is the first time where I've heard that, and I experienced this myself, that it is I didn't pre-reg, wasn't planning on to, was just going to ghost. Then he convinces me to actually get a badge anyway, so I did.
Yeah, because it was at least worth getting stuff from the dealers.
That too, yeah. And it was quick, within about an hour for everything, or no, 40 minutes.
I'd say close to an hour, if not a little over, but it wasn't like that long.
Wait, was it over an hour?
I can't remember.
I thought it was at least at most 40 minutes, and then we were gone. Like it took more time. Actually, took half the time to reg online, get the confirmation email, and then half of it was just spending in line or something. Or maybe it was. I'm not sure. But so apparently these lines lasted for hours.
Yep.
Some have been in the Vax line
Way
for
too
2 or 3
long.
hours. Sometimes less, sometimes more. I've heard some being in the Vax line for 4 hours. Then, once you survive that line, you get put into another line that is also 2 to 3 hours, give or take. That's wild that pre-reg doesn't matter at a convention, because you're going to be waiting a long time. It's not an easy in and out anymore.
I honestly feel like at this time, like they should really just try it, just see how well it works out before, saying that it's a bad idea to do it. But I really want to see them like try and mail badges out, because that line is just way too fucking insane.
You are already providing information of your address, your real name, your email address.
You pay with credit card.
You pay with credit card, and to send a piece of plastic in an envelope, and maybe a sheet of paper to say this is what you paid for, and the rest you pick up at the convention, swag and such, which would be easier. You pay 55 cents for a stamp. You probably pay 15, 20 cents for, okay, 55, so let's say 45 cents for an envelope, a single dollar. That's cheap if you think about it. In the continental United States. Hell, shit, I think even to Alaska. What's to say that a single 55-cent stamp can't get to Alaska if you're sending a piece of paper? But this would be a perfect opportunity to bring back mailing badges. Back in the 90s, conventions in their beginning, most people opted to have their badges mailed to them. In fact, some conventions did it automatically without thinking.
FWA tried it this year,
but
it failed because the third party kind of waited last minute to do it, and by the time that the
mail
badges
was out,
it would have been like close to the actual weekend. So they're like, "Fuck it, we're just gonna have you guys come in and get it." Which
it almost seems it almost seems like they should have had staff gradually do sets in a week, like several months before. Just do, let's say, but then again, that's a lot of work. But if you have a convention, or if anything, sponsor and super sponsor, get the higher tiers out by mail. At least you pay for it. For Squared, you're paying $175 to do super sponsor. The best you can do is to get your stuff mailed, or at least your badge, just to say that you have it, so you don't have to go through waiting in line. If you're a regular attendee, okay, maybe you need to suffer and wait in line. But a lot of people are sponsoring and super sponsoring, or even higher tier philanthropy, like status,
right?
Where you're throwing away $300, which you help a convention.
I got
which I've done once, and actually they gave me a lot of free stuff at Anthro Ohio.
Yeah, talk about that later.
But
Being $300 poor.
and I encouraged it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea of just having badges mailed to your house, to your apartment, probably is a lot more easier. It's easier said than done, perhaps.
The
But I
thing,
feel like it's a better way than what they're doing.
well, I
Right
mean,
now.
so the thing that I get confused by is like, all right, we have different series of badges. Like we have the adult badges and we have the minor badges. If they're just gonna check for IDs at the door, even with an adult badge on. Now I know why they do it. They're legally obligated to do it, but at this point, it's like why bother having the different badges? Like why not just have them all be the same if you're just gonna check IDs regardless?
as they should.
Um,
I think the only reason why that they want to make sure that it's a minor badge needing a parent or guardian with is for stuff like the 18 plus art show,
right.
going through the 18 plus section of Dealer's Den. Um, it's a very, very easy way of looking at someone's badge to say you're underage, you shouldn't be here.
Okay. I
Unless
guess I never
it's
thought of it that way, but I mean,
that's my only thought. Beyond that, it's just a quick, easy means of not looking at your name. It's to see, okay, you're not a minor. Or for some panels which are 21 over, because it involves drinking, there might be three different badges where you have the regular, then you have those that are between the age of 18 and 20, and then those under 18 requiring parent or guardian with them at all times. Um,
possibility.
I think it's just an ease of just making it simple for badge checkers, just to make sure, okay, they know the three types. They just need to focus on the two that really matter the most when it comes to just the 18 plus adult stuff and the 21 plus drinking panels, which only seem to really happen at certain cons. I don't see it too often, but first, first squared is a con where yes, you can be under 18 to show up. No, you cannot show up to panels that involve drinking. And even those who are 21 plus, you're not allowed to drink in those panels. And unless you were to go up on stage for mixology and such, then that's one thing. But you're not allowed to bring your own booze and drink it. There's contracting and conventions that only state that performers and staff could do that out in public. Well, not really in public, but on stage, in panel rooms and such. But conventions could do a few things a little different. But
Yeah.
I mean, the idea that it worked, it didn't work great. It worked, but it could be improved upon.
So let's see. And then
So this is still Thursday.
yeah, there wasn't really a lot that I was doing on Thursday, so other than going to that party and drinking really like excess. No, I should when I say excessively, I don't mean like blackout drunk, but I was tipsy. Um and then I eventually went back to my room, which was at the embassy, which in my honest opinion, in terms of all the overflow hotels, I liked the embassy a bit more. They actually do. Now I don't know if this is like. I think it's automatically for everybody that stays at the embassy. You got free breakfast,
Which is the first for this year, because
Yep.
the other last year when I was at that hotel, I paid for breakfast.
Yeah, you save money. They do like as long as you have your wristband on you, you got free breakfast. Each
cool.
each day that you were staying there between like 5:30 to 6, you were allowed 2 free alcoholic drinks from the bar.
2, really?
But they were the ones that they chose, so it wasn't like you couldn't just make up your own like, oh, I want an AMF.
It had to be something from
Yeah,
their menu.
from their drink menu, because otherwise you would have had to pay for the rest.
But 2 drinks a day.
Yep,
it's pretty neat.
So that was nice. You saved yourself a bit of money on breakfast and booze.
And it can be done any time of day.
The boozing part, no.
So it only had to be in the evening.
Yeah, it was between like 5 to 6.
That's pretty specific.
Yeah, because it's 5 o'clock somewhere. You might as well just start it by boozing it up in the hotel lobby.
Yes, assume so.
So you went Saturday, yeah?
Yes.
All right. Fast forward to Friday.
Mm-hmm.
I wake up, get my breakfast. I go back to my hotel room because I don't get to really go out on the floor right away, and there was no panels that interested me at the moment. I ended up doing a final while in our hotel room.
Nice.
So I finished my final. I'm pretty sure I did okay on it. I'm pretty sure I passed it. Um, then I was like, well, I'm done here. Now what? I ended up going to hang out with some friends, and we went to go to the dealer's den the first day that it opened, which, unless you know what you want specifically from this event and you're worried that it's going to fall, like, disappear, like, this con shirt, there is absolutely no reason to go into the MFF, like, dealer's den the first day. Because it was so I'm not really a claustrophobic person, but I felt super uncomfortable being that close to like everybody in that small room, like in that room that's supposedly the biggest area that they have.
So much oxygen was being used up in that room, in that big giant room, that people felt lightheaded.
Yeah, people were fainting. They didn't have enough water coolers in that area.
People were fainting in the sky bridge because, of course, the same deal. There's so many people going through it. You would think,
Well,
running out of oxygen.
That it was hot already. It's got an insane amount of foot traffic because no one wants to go outside.
Actually, I think the weather this past year was okay.
First 2 days were definitely cold.
We're definitely brutal. Saturday and Sunday was about average.
Yeah, it was. Sunday was really nice, but
I think for fursuiters, a lot of fursuiters were taking advantage of the cold outside. But beyond that, ordinary attendees were using the sky bridge. But from what I've been told from Thursday and Friday, while I was just watching from home, that a lot of people felt claustrophobic. Many of them saying they're never claustrophobic, but that was awakening for them. And some people actually fainted. Well, I don't know about fully fainted, but actually felt lightheaded to the point of fainting. And I think some furry decided to bring a CO2 level device.
Oh yeah,
just to simply like test out, how much CO2 was in a given spot.
Now, what is CO2 again? Is it carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide?
Or maybe it's a CO. Because I think carbon dioxide is what we breathe.
Yeah, carbon dioxide.
And then carbon monoxide is what we exhale.
No. Carbon monoxide is that. Hang on, I gotta actually. I don't want to be caught on my ignorance here, so I'm gonna Google.
I'm not a chemist, so I can say what the hell I want because I can.
Okay, so carbon monoxide is a poisonous and odorless gas that's flammable and can kill you.
So we're definitely not exhaling that.
That's the stuff that you would get from your car.
Right. Okay, so that's entirely different.
Yeah,
okay.
Carbon dioxide is just the byproduct of when you exhale.
Oh,
so when you
then
inhale,
oxygen. So then it's O2.
It's depleted oxygen, essentially.
So it gains a carbon somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. Well, that makes sense.
So
So someone brought a CO2 device.
It was insanely high.
Which, granted, with enough foot traffic, was able to disperse it, but there was still a good level of it that people felt its effects.
Yep, it totally explains why you always feel so winded after taking not even that long of a walk.
Yeah.
I imagine it would be better, more so okay if not a whole lot of people were using the sky bridge, but everybody uses the sky bridge. So
I mean, even last year when I was in full suit and I went through that in its entirety with the head on, I felt like I ran a marathon
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
and I walked, and that was rough. And I'm not that out of shape. I could stand to lose a few pounds and, hit the gym more often, but I felt like I ran a mile or like ran a marathon in suit, and that was rough. So, and there weren't many people on the Sky Bridge when I was going through it too. So that's just saying something. Um, but yeah, it seems like Dealer's Den and Artist Alley is a pretty popular hot spot for Friday.
Yeah. The other thing, I'm just gonna say right off the bat, I know it's a bit early, but my overall convention experience when I wasn't hanging out with my friends and such, like the ones that I see more often than I do people that don't live in this like in the general area of the Midwest,
Hmm.
wasn't really all that memorable. Like it wasn't a bad con, but it wasn't a really great year either because a lot of the people that I was hoping to see there, which is primarily the whole reason I go,
So not
didn't
so
go.
not great, not terrible.
No, it was like kind of it was a meh con for me this year.
It registered 3.6 Rungin.
Yeah, not great, not terrible. I saw
Um,
graphite on the roof. You didn't see graphite. He's delusional. Take him to the infirmary. Kudos to anyone that gets that reference.
to think
It's not.
that's
It's not that old, right?
to think that it's 2 years old at this point. Actually, going on three
God, that is such a good miniseries.
because it came out fall of 2019,
Yeah, that sounds about
and
right.
I didn't watch it until the beginning of the pandemic,
Yeah,
which
'cause
was
didn't
2020.
didn't I lend you?
It for the longest time, and then I finally watched it, and I did a whole binge with my dad for like one evening. I was like, oh my god, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
Um,
Go watch Chernobyl. It's a good series.
so I'm not sure if you're fully done with Friday, but I can at least certainly say this: the whole point of why I went to MFF is very little to do with fursuiting, even though I did partial a bit. Had nothing to do with paneling, which I didn't do a single panel. It was to solely actually hang out with people, local or abroad. And you know what? I would say everyone that I hung out with was a good time. Even if nothing may have happened, it was still a good time to catch back, hang out, and just kind of, enjoy each other's company um, during those times before I would either bounce between friends and such. So,
Um,
also too, for context in this video, the convention theme is heroes,
yep, comic books.
comic book heroes. Which now I don't know if you're done with Friday.
There's like maybe like one other story I want to touch on.
Okay, well then I'll let you.
So Friday night, I decided to wear some latex.
You became shiny.
I became a shiny drone. Ended up hanging out with my friends in the main lobby, and we had some people come up to us, very obviously drunk. I wouldn't say they were totally shit faced, but they were intoxicated. Comes up to my group of friends, and they all say, "You know what? I really like you. I like you. I like you. You want to get a photo with us?" And we're like, "Yeah, sure, okay." Like, I wasn't in the photo. I didn't want to be in the photo, but like everybody else did, and one of our friends was holding a giant block button, and
Oh.
this is the this is the funny part. I won't say who the other individual is because I like the other individual, but um uh they held up. So our friend holds up a block, like the block sign that he printed. He ends up getting a picture with Pepper Coyote, which I found pretty ironic.
Which is amusing because
Yeah.
and Pepper Coyote in suit.
Yep. Full suit.
In full suit too,
Which is a rarity.
Which is unusual because I keep forgetting he has a suit
Everybody
and a
does.
full suit at that.
So I don't know if he blocked Toon, but I know for a fact he blocked me.
Pepper.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I kind of figure at this point.
Yeah, he talked some mad shit about somebody that we both know from the Chicago area. Called him a pedophile.
Oh,
but then when
that's
I
substantiated.
yeah, which I then asked is like, hey, do you have actual proof for this? This isn't me trying to like bullshit you.
Right.
I just want to know if this is true or
You
not, so I don't look
follow up.
stupid.
Right.
And he doesn't answer like a normal person. He just said, "Get the fuck out of here." He was a creep even when he was 35. And I'm like, that doesn't answer my question, but okay. And he just never did it. So I held him to that. And I guess eventually he got so annoyed by that, he just couldn't take it anymore and blocked me. Now, this other individual, again, will not say their name, who was in the photo, had Toon blocked. So them being in the photo with the blocked button seemed pretty like almost funny. Like
it can be considered poetic.
It was poetic irony. But
they had the two individuals in this group photo with two other fursuiters.
Yep.
With Toon, and Pepper Coyote obviously blocked Toon.
Well, I don't know if he did.
But apparently this one other person did block Toon.
Yep.
Because they asked Toon for their @ on Twitter, and
he checked it last night. He's like, "Oh, I'm blocked."
Yeah.
It was so funny. And then he's like, "This is the whole reason I created the block button."
Yeah. It's actually pretty fantastic.
So I think that was it for Friday. So if you want to go ahead and talk about the superhero stuff, you can go ahead.
Okay, so just to talk about the theme, it's comic book superheroes. It's pretty fun. It's a relatively uncommon theme.
Time to wear your spandex and your capes.
And your capes.
No capes.
No capes. That's yeah.
Yep.
Not so much about that, but then I started seeing some people actually get into theme, which is always fun to see.
It's always fun to see.
And of course, with superheroes, you get supervillains, which okay, all right, okay.
That gator.
That gator was sexy.
Oh my god,
all of the
Daddy
art,
Gator.
All of the art made for this year's theme, sexy.
I gotta find the artist.
They absolutely know the demographic of we're all gonna get hard to this at some point. And we did.
There, if I can find it, I might just plug the artist because the artist was actually really good.
Oh yeah. So, of course, you have furs dressed up as superheroes, and of course, you have some dressed up as supervillains. Very, very few of them, but they were there. Then, oddly enough, throughout the whole Saturday and Sunday, because I kept bouncing this with you on what you thought about this as this was going on. Most conventions these days have a policy against wearing a uniform, whether if it be military, paramilitary, police, whether if it's fictional or non-fictional.
Correction, this has gotten more and more common now because of what happened over 2 summers ago.
What's that?
The 2020 riots.
Right. Oh yeah, that's right.
Yep, because back then nobody had a problem with it.
No.
Well, I shouldn't say they didn't have a problem with it.
The police outfits were the ones that people had initial problems with because, of course, back then, the police were not in very good, positive view or light because incidences.
And some could argue that that's still the case.
I can see with police stuff, with military, I guess that's kind of a far-flung niche thing that very, 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 very few people did and still do. And guess what we saw a lot of?
We saw a lot of people in like cosplays,
in military cosplay, military uniforms.
We saw an Eastern and a West German military uniform in the same weekend.
Yeah. You see a lot of camouflage. You see a lot of rucksacks. I see a lot of greatcoats.
Miss Cappy was the artist.
Okay. And I was confused much of the whole weekend, knowing the policy against wearing a uniform, past, present, fictional, non-fictional, military, paramilitary, law enforcement, that you would think this would be enforced by MFF staff, that they would have pulled any of these individuals aside and say, hey, look, we have a policy against this. We can't let you wear this. We'll give you a warning or what have you, or go back to your room and remove it. You would think, right? No, throughout all of Saturday, because I was there from 9 a.m. Saturday till midnight, and was back around 11 till about 5 Sunday. So, pretty good time. And I see the same people throughout the whole day.
Yeah.
Without any change. So MFF staff has grew to be deaf on their own policy, although they are on top of getting people to wear masks in panel rooms and such. And even people as just ordinary attendees were getting onto people to let them know that they should be wearing their mask, which out in the open, that's not enforceable unless the hotel states that they have to. But I found it strange that the staff did not uphold their policy regarding the use of uniform wearing, because there was quite a lot of them.
Yeah.
And do you say that it was pretty obvious what they were wearing?
Yeah, it was blatantly. There was one guy that was walking around with like a horny police meme thing. He had like his little foam baton that said bonk on it. Which again,
which is meant to be funny.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't personally care that they have these things there. It just
I think it's amusing.
It doesn't bother me, and I know for a fact that they're not doing it to harm anyone. It's just a bunch of people get upset because it's too militaristic, and it's like, okay, but you had people walking around in stormtrooper like costumes before. That's not considered militaristic, and that's sci-fi. But it is a military faction.
I would say that's considered a military uniform.
Like the
or
thing,
even a Star Trek uniform is still considered fictional.
Well, the thing I liked about a lot of the furry conventions that I would go to is that some people would actually go into in-depth creativity and put all these things together. I remember one time at First Squared, I think it was the first Squared I went to, you had two people walking in full on Russian ground forces like uniforms and like airsoft play characters, because there was no way they were going to wear the real thing. Now,
even actually Rufus thought that was pretty amazing because he was wondering where they got all the equipment.
Yeah, they actually got it from Russia.
Wow.
That was before the war. Who knows what that's like now? It's probably really difficult to get Russian equipment, but
how much that's worth now?
Lots and lots of rubles.
Sending back to Russia.
Send back to Russia with Russian standards.
So I was confused about that the whole weekend, and I was just felt okay. They could have enforced that, but they didn't. But beyond that, Saturday was pretty chill. Hung out with a lot of people. I can't actually say a whole too much besides partialing a bit, taking some pictures, get some selfies, hang out with friends. That's it for me on Saturday. Then Sunday, same thing. Minus fursuit. I was planning on partialing some Sunday. Didn't really happen, but still hung out. So relatively chill. Now, I felt like the crowds on the main lobby floor was not as big as it used to be. Like there were a few years in the past where it was crowded, like it was Sunday, right at the very end, which apparently there was still a crap ton of people at 2 a.m. in the morning on Monday in fursuit, out and about like normal. I find that insane because normally Sunday night on a con, people tend to crash. They tend to do their parties in the room as one last hurrah. But there were a lot of people out and about, which is pretty neat.
So I've been reading the code of conduct just so I didn't say something without fact checking it. So in their harassment policy, MFF is dedicated to providing a harassment-free convention experience for all, regardless of age, race, gender, gender identity or expression, sexual orientation, disability, physical appearance, or personal beliefs. We do not tolerate harassment of any kind of convention attendees, volunteers, staff, or guests. Harassment is considered a serious breach of this code of conduct. This policy is equally or applies equally to attendees, staff, contractors, and agents of MFF. If someone requests to be left alone, respect their wishes. Um, some other general stuff, but the later part says wearing or displaying garments, costumes, or signage that are deemed by MFF to communicate hostile messaging or sentiment is not permitted anywhere in MFF spaces. Yeah, that's very vague and open to interpretation.
That is incredibly vague.
Individuals in violation of this policy will be required to remove such items.
So they get rid of their uniform policy, because I think they had a uniform policy at one point, and they must have taken it out and reworded it to that. Because
yeah, must have. Because I know a lot of places were very explicitly clear.
TFF is incredibly clear about that.
Quadifer
too.
Yeah, Quadifer was like no Nazi or any kind of German cosplay. I'm like, oh,
they went specific to that as well.
Yeah, I know, and it's like, okay, Nazi I get, but literally anything German, like. Unfortunately, I think it's because
Germans get a bad rep.
Well, not only that, but like for the most part, the German uniform really hasn't changed all that much.
And to which the German people don't see that as a problem either, because that's just tradition.
It's very
just culture.
It's very recognizable. Like even like in terms of how it's designed, but unfortunately, a lot of people won't go into in-depth research on it. Like I remember last MFF, you had a bunch of people walking around in like the modern equivalent to what the German Luftwaffe used to be, and they still use like the same type of belt buckles.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, "Yo, that's some Nazi shit." And then you're like, "Actually," then all the
lens flare,
all the historian furs are looking at it, and we're like, "Actually, no, this isn't what you think this is. This is actually
this is post-war.
Like, this is post-war and current year type shit." Like, yeah, you could make the argument that maybe they were doing it just to skirt around the policy, but it's really hard to tell. It's hard to prove. You can't really say that unless you look like if this person has any kind of history where they were frequently seen wearing Nazi uniforms. It's not like Foxler, who doesn't even bother to hide the fact that he wears an armband everywhere.
That's sketch.
Like, but me personally, there's just certain uniforms that I wouldn't wear just out of the fear of, people expecting or suspecting that it's being used as a placeholder for something else, or just blatantly just being confused for that item.
Yeah.
Which is also funny because when we were walking around, we saw a person we were both talking to, and we're both big into like reenacting / LARPing stuff, and he's wearing a West German like paratrooper outfit, fully kitted up, and it's like that's actually really impressive. And the first thing I ask him is, "Did you get any heat for that?" He's like, "Oh no, no one's enforcing this rule." So it's like, so then why did they make the rule?
Yeah,
like there were more people. MFF staff was more focused on, and I'm not trying to say that they should or shouldn't be, but this is just an observation. Seems to me like most of them were more so focused on everybody wearing their masks.
Which I would say 95% did.
Right.
So they were going after a small percentage throughout the weekend that weren't, or at least encouraging. They weren't like forcing it down their throat, but they were like heavily encouraging, you should wear a mask. It's safer to wear a mask.
Right.
We provide masks if you want them.
So that happened.
Overall, I thought the convention was fun. They raised $106,000. That's pretty chill.
They had like 14,000 plus attendees this year.
It
So
it didn't reach 14. Well, you could say it's at 14,000.
they finished the
It's like-
head count.
Oh wait, it's
Like,
actually above.
I think they updated it. Let me just let me double check that again so I don't look like.
I thought it was somewhere like around like 13,000.
I think that was what it was initially,
something.
but I think they updated those numbers.
Also, you also have to put into account that there are people that goes to convention, people that don't register. They don't get counted because they don't get a badge. So, if you really think about it, there's a possibility that there might actually be another 500 to maybe 1,000 people who ghosted, who obviously didn't get recorded as far as attendee members, or numbers. So it is incredibly possible that for every con, there's probably a good amount that could be added to that if they registered. I thought MFF was pretty fun. I would like to go next year, but to do the same thing. At that point, I would probably just hang out with friends. It'd be the con that I would just do nothing but hang out. A lot of ambulances.
Yeah, there were a lot of ambulances
Now-
this year.
MFF's no stranger to the ambulance.
Nope.
There was a lot this year, and that's just for Saturday and Sunday. And already, they were getting ambulances on Tuesday.
We were getting it Wednesday and Thursday.
Then Friday, of course, it picks up. Saturday was insane because they had to bring a gurney inside the hotel,
I saw that.
and they had to make space, to which then I think someone or something was carried out. To which apparently one furry had who was walking by. I am scarred for life for what I've seen as they were like walking by, which really meant something really, really, really bad happened. Or they're talking about something else, but I'm not sure. It's just kind of strange.
I can't find it anymore. I think it's gone.
But yeah, there was a lot of ambulances. I think a lot of people just forget to drink. Drinking water.
Drinking water. It's not that they don't forget to drink. They just forget to drink a specific liquid.
Right. Because people forget to drink just in general. So they're becoming dehydrated. People drink too much alcohol, which dehydrates you as well.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not if you're not paying attention, that can catch up to you, and then you find yourself in that situation. You've made a mention that someone may have possibly
Overdosed
on booze.
I don't know what they overdosed on. I just know that somebody supposedly ended up overdosing and were sent to the hospital. Which, man, what a rough weekend to go to not only spend like hundreds of dollars at a convention, but now you're probably spending thousands for a hospital visit.
And that you might be there for a day or two.
Yeah, and that's gonna suck because you're also out of state. You're in an area you're not typically from around or whatever.
And if you had insurance, it's not likely going to be covered.
Nope.
So, especially something that was preventable.
Mm-hmm. So now, are we on to Saturday now?
Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah. So
I've kind of like discussed the most of what I've kind of experienced too.
So you didn't have anything else to say about Saturday?
Saturday was chill.
Yeah.
Saturday was chill. I crashed at Kurt Ann's hotel, and that was kind of it. So just hung out with a lot of friends.
I think that was also it was either Saturday or Sunday. I ended up buying that harness.
That too. So I was with you for that.
Oh God, I'm $300 poorer now. Which for a while, like when I got back, I was freaking the fuck out because I thought my when I was updating all my financial books, like my bookkeeping and such, I thought I did my math wrong, which I'm still not even sure yet to this day. I'm still kind of waiting to see what happens when I get my paycheck, if it changes, because online banking, or at least with my bank, is kind of not accurate. So you it's kind of like playing Risk with your money. And I like the fact that they say, "Oh, it's supposed to be convenient. It's supposed to help save the trees." And it's like, no, I might as well just have like actual, like a physical checkbook to make sure that, everything's updated, because it's never going to be accurate if you constantly change things, like when it says, "Oh, this bill is still processing," or
I like my checkbook.
yeah. Um so that happened. Saturday I went to a kink panel, ran into some people that I haven't seen in a while, and some I've met for the first time, some of which were known shiny artists. That was nice. I ran into somebody that I met who was at Fang, um, the local club meet that we go to up in Madison now. Trying to think what else. What else happened Saturday? Um, Honestly, I don't think I really did a whole lot. I hung out with Tuna and Tanza a lot. We got deep dish. We did a few other things. I went to the Twinkie photo shoot. I didn't take any photos this time. I just came there to, you know, talk to some peeps that I didn't get to see all weekend, which was nice. Um, so one of these days, I'm gonna end up doing that myself, which will be fun. Which is funny because now my suit maker is down to 4 suits that need to be made yet, and she's just getting everything ready for the next 2 she's working on, because she does 2 at a time.
Okay.
So once those 2 are done, like finished, then it's me and another person's suit that gets made. And then after that, she has completely cleared her queue list.
Nice.
So that'll be fun. I don't exactly know when my suit will actually get completed. I'm going to guess, and it's going to be a complete shot in the dark too. Probably, depending on how long it took. I should have measured how long it took for her to get one costume done. But I'd like to say that it's probably going to be sometime in either late spring or mid summer. And that's just my theory on it. I'm not too worried about it. I already knew that I was going to be the last one on that list because of my financial situation. So I'm not bummed by the fact that I'm dead last. Um, Sunday. Sunday we didn't really do much either, except I was panicking because I was like, "Uh-oh, I realized that I made these plans to come up here, but I never asked how the fuck am I gonna get back." So I DM'd the person that took me up there and said, "Hey, when are you leaving? Um, for back for rain or like Wisconsin?" He's like, "Oh, I'm not gonna go until Monday." Um, that's a problem because I don't have off for Monday. I gotta go back to work. So I'm scrambling to try and find people, and at this time, I didn't even think that you were still around. Like I thought you had taken off because you had told me you were only going to stay for, a day.
Which a lot of people thought that was the case, but I ended up crashing at Kurt Ann's to do another day. So
shout out to Kurt Ann.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, we didn't see any of that. And we ended up getting home without incident, and then that's when everything went terribly wrong afterwards. I just, for some reason, had a really bad case of the Mondays. Nothing was working. My phone, I thought, was broken. Bank statements weren't matching up. I was having a shit day at work. I ended up breaking down during work, which was not good. It's the first time I ever snapped at anybody, even at work, and it was not a good snap. I was like, "Oh shit, maybe I shouldn't be here." And then
I vented 3 hours to road safety this past Monday too, so we both were having kind of shit days. And then seeing their eyes like just kind of like grow big and out of their sockets, to which then they were telling me my rights as a driver, and then my eyes grew big and out of their sockets. Like, oh my God, screw this whole time.
hey, yep.
So Monday was kind of a rough day.
And then I was already starting to deal with like stupid work shit. For whatever reason, they just can't ever seem to keep track of my PTO correctly. So I may have lost like 2 days worth of PTO, like paid time off, because of their fuck up. So my upcoming check's probably not going to be completely correct. I probably lost a couple $100. So I'm not thrilled, but you know, I can only do so much at this place, and cardboard health kind of sucks. What else happened?
I will say this, and this is kind of like old news about MFF. You know, the big old drama about the room lottery back in September,
Oh
and how people
God.
bitched about MFF needs to go to a different location. You know, this ain't working anymore. Then there was people who were complaining recently. By recent, I'm talking about today, that were complaining that it has outgrown its location and needs to go find a different spot. They specifically said that there's no cheap food options around and you couldn't get anywhere without a car. Then I made, the connection of, well, there's the fashion outlets within walking distance because they claimed there was nothing within walking distance. You can technically walk to the fashion outlets if you were desperate, but you can certainly do so. However, there is a shuttle that operates every 15 to 20 minutes.
I didn't even know there was a shuttle, to be honest.
Yeah.
No one said anything about I didn't see a shuttle mentioned anywhere.
You got to go to the convention center down in that loop.
Well, no, I mean like they didn't even put it in the programming, which
actually that's actually dropping the ball. That there was totally a shuttle.
Well, if there was, I didn't see it. Like there was no, from my understanding, no mention of it anywhere. Which another thing I'd like to point out: go back to fucking physical copies for Christ's sake. Like so many people want to know what panels they went to from so many years ago. That QR code is not going to last forever.
No.
It's going to get updated, and then you're going to see like the current year of each con. I understand why we did it when COVID was a thing, but we're now 2 years into this, and everybody is dying. Like everybody that I know of, at least, is dying to see physical copies return back to cons. That was one of the biggest issues for Quadifer. People were mad about that. A small con not having programming, like physical programming for people to look at.
I mean, I didn't realize that one of my local friends did art for the convention, and I still have yet to actually see it because if I don't get a physical con book, I'm likely not going to get the time or the chance to see it. Two, if it's done online, more likely I may not get the chance to actually see it. To which then our friends like, I don't care. I got their money. That's fine by me. But it kind of sucks because it's digital.
Yeah, she like if we're talking about the same friend.
Yep.
She had made a mention of it in our in the server we were in. She's like, all right, I don't want to show everything, but I'm going to show you like one of the pieces I'm working on. We were like, damn, that's really good. Can't wait to see it in the programming. Didn't see it anywhere. And then they told us, oh, it's all in the digital booklet. Why the fuck did you hire this person if you were just going to put it in the digital booklet? Like you didn't put it in any of the other things, like the room, like the banners and shit. Like, what was the point of all them? Like, yeah, I guess you gave them free money and they made commission artwork off of it, but like we all kind of wanted to see it. So now I don't even know if she has copies of those.
I mean, she's probably got
probably, but
the art on her files. It's just the idea is that a con book is meant to be something you page through once. Not once every once every week or every month,
Yeah.
but at least you go through them from time to time and you look back at the art, look back at
It's like a scrapbook.
yeah, it's kind of like a scrapbook that's already made for you.
Like MFF, and I remember MFF specifically had thicker con books, which I always liked
Oh yeah.
because that meant there was more stuff to look at. And you would see other advertisements or promotions for other upcoming events, and it was like, yeah, that seems like a real cool idea. And then even outside it, I know some people who now started running around with Sharpies asking people, "Hey, would you sign this book like you would in high school or grade school?"
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I
Yeah.
like that. I like having it show like all my friends sign the backs of the bindings of these books because now it's got like some more like sentimental value.
Mm-hmm.
But everything's just kind of gotten to the point where it's like so I don't want to say streamlined, but just like no one
There's
wants
very
to.
little effort.
Yeah, and it's like I kind of feel like part of the soul of the reason why I wanted to come here is missing.
Yeah.
Um,
Some people bitch about things that aren't so much a problem. There's not enough people bitching about the things that people actually do miss.
mhm.
The people who believe the convention needs to find a new location got to understand that McCormick Place is far too expensive, but it's a different type of venue than what we're used to running, that they're not able to handle us or that we're not able to handle what they would provide. Then, not enough cheap food options.
Oh God,
I mean, there was the food truck. That was
it's
pretty
not
good.
that cheap to be honest.
It's
Though.
not that cheap, but you could still get food from it.
Yeah,
It's cheaper than the restaurant.
it's cheaper than the restaurant. It's cheaper than.
You could still go to the fashion outlets, buy shuttle, the mythical shuttle that people say that there was no transportation or you had to drive around to get somewhere. You know what? Just go through the sky bridge, go through the parking structure, and you cross the street and you're right there. It might be 15 minutes out of your way, but that's not a long wait. It's 10-15 minutes because the shuttle makes a loop, but it goes to that shopping outlet. So people complain about the wrong things, but it's unfortunate that there's this trend of digital copies of something, whether if it's the booklet or the programming booklet or the con book itself, are things that people do enjoy. It's a fun collecting hobby of even if you haven't been to a convention or those that don't exist anymore, people love to collect them as part of a collection and such. And 2021 and 2022 is going to be a strange era for those collecting these books.
Oh, I forgot another thing. So I don't know if you ever noticed this, but whenever you go to the main Hyatt O'Hare lobby,
Hmm.
they have that little like a la carte area
Hmm.
with coffee mugs and stuff. So I remember this for me. It was 2018 when I started collecting these mugs.
Hmm.
They had porcelain coffee mugs. And you would take those and you would get refills
Hmm.
there. Now, I can't remember if the first time that the refills were free, but I know you had to buy the mug first.
Right.
Then the following year it was like, oh no, it's not free. You got to buy this. And then I think 21 they didn't do it because COVID.
Right.
So then they come back and I'm like, ooh, they got mugs. But now they're made out of this cheap plastic and I'm like, oh, like I was expecting the porcelain quality. I really liked the porcelain ones.
Right.
Like I want to say for the longest time, when I started working at Amazon, I would actually fill that mug up and take it with me to work and just drink it in my car. Now it's like, I still got the mug, but I'm like, man, it's so like weird now seeing it go from like this really nice quality to a cheapened out version. Like, and these things sell like hotcakes.
It's just the effort that convention planners are willing to go.
Yeah, it was kind of. Well, I don't even know if it was the convention itself. I think it was the hotel. Which, damn, what a bummer.
What a drop in quality.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still good to support, but
Yeah, I'm still slightly bummed because I was expecting that same quality again, and we got a cheaper version of it. Is that all we wanted to say then about MFF?
I'd say so because I'm kind of running out of ideas.
You're running out of steam. Well, I mean, we could talk about the person of the year who got nominated.
Let's actually talk about that.
Yeah,
Let's bounce around to that.
Volodymyr Zelensky, president of Ukraine, who's also still in the midst of a war between Russia
Who
and
hasn't left the country?
Nope.
In at least left the country in terms of
fear of being
of
killed.
his safety and whatnot.
Yep.
Right.
He's like, nah, I'm stay.
Yeah, he's actually gonna wear a olive drab sweater or t-shirt.
Traded.
And he traded in his suit for that for the entire year. For most of this whole year, he had not been wearing a suit and tie.
Yeah, his
He has fully taken over the commander-in-chief role.
And what's funny is that his popularity. So he wasn't a very well liked president before the invasion. Then all of a sudden this happens.
He was taken as a joke.
Yeah, because of his previous experience being an actor,
An actor and comedian.
Well, that too. I later found out that he was the Ukrainian dub VA for Paddington, like
Really?
the new like CGI esque
Mhm.
live action Paddington movie. He was Paddington Bear for the Ukrainian dub.
Well, that's pretty cool.
And I'm like, wow, I didn't even know that. Like, I knew he was an actor. I didn't realize he was also a VA. That's impressive. Like, how often do you get to see somebody like, and on top of that, a president like that guy who understands people a little closer to his generation, seems like a very likable person, literally walking up to people, giving them high fives and stuff. That's not normal.
You get a high five. And you get a high five.
He's
High five.
He's literally like, "Yeah, how's it going?" Like he's your best bud. Like I kind of appreciate that. Like I'm sure,
Buddy Vlad.
yeah.
It's like
Now, with that being said, there are some caveats. There are certain things that I don't like him doing, like
trying to push NATO to go full on.
yeah, like trying to
bait.
Yeah, well, like
Trying to bait NATO into getting into a full scale war, which okay, all right, but now you've got World War III happening,
Yeah.
which then it affects us all. Not to discount the war in Ukraine.
Yeah, no.
It is awful.
Um,
But to be encouraging a war across a continent is an even rougher thing to contemplate. And we would rather want to take care of the war in Ukraine to make sure the Ukrainians win, make sure they're well supported, and making sure that Russia couldn't possibly do this again. The theory being, once Ukraine wins, they would win. They'd be able to get admittance into NATO once they are a peaceful nation at the time of their joining. Because to have a country at war joining NATO would almost seem disgenuine, especially for what they
you
want.
can't, anyways. If you're fighting over contested regions in your area that you consider part of your country, NATO will not let you join.
Right.
So, the only way they can really do it is if they kick Russia out of all the places that they've invaded, Crimea, the Donbass, and all the places that they marched into since the invasion last February. It's hard to believe. This war had been going on for 8 years, but the invasion just started a year ago.
Officially.
Yeah. Like,
it's nuts.
Damn. But yeah, so
he became Time Magazine's
Person of the
Year, which that is a prestigious position for that article where many different people throughout time were granted
good
that
and bad,
good and evil. Yeah. Even Hitler had been Man of the Year.
Stalin had been it twice.
Yeah.
During the purges and after Hitler's death.
Yep.
Khomeini, the leader of the Iranian Revolution, he was even on there once. And unfortunately, because of that reputation, a lot of these people who don't like Zelensky outright or are just Russian tankies, are saying, "Oh yeah, he's up." Like Time Magazine has like good taste in people to pick for their nomination or for this award. And I'm like, guys, it's not even remotely fair. Like, you do realize that he's fighting a war to just merely exist right now. I mean, yeah, he's done some shady shit, and you can argue that that's wrong, and I would
Hmm.
even agree with you saying, yeah, I don't like the fact that he's baiting everybody into doing these things, but I can also understand that he's doing it out of desperation because his country isn't even that big. Like
No,
Ukraine is, I don't even think the size of Texas,
I don't think so either.
and everybody's freaking out about this guy because he's like, "Oh yeah, this is your president, ladies and gentlemen," and they pull like a clip of him just like mocking a symphonist from a skit that he used to do back when he was an actor. It's like, yeah, he did things before becoming a politician. So what?
Yeah,
Am I gonna bring up every single movie that Ronald Reagan was in before he became president of the United States? No, because
I
it's not relevant.
I mean, Zelensky became more of a president that they're proud of now.
Oh yeah,
Since this invasion, Zelensky has been the Ukrainian president. First of all, even if he had ties in the film industry or as an actor or voice actor, that almost now takes secondary um, placing
yep.
because who else out there is doing nightly addresses over the radio and over TV?
Yeah, we haven't seen anything like that since FDR's day.
Yeah.
And
Where else every single evening he would make a small update of the country in terms of the war and, some words of encouragement to keep the spirits of the Ukrainian people up, which are hard as nails people.
oh yeah,
They're being bombed much like the British during the Blitz, and you know what? They're not caving in. They're like, well, this sucks for now, but hey, as long as we're still alive, we're still going to give the finger to the Russians anyway, because they suck anyway. Um, to see Zelensky get Man of the Year is well warranted because he has done a lot for democracy than most people have done for
yep,
democracy because he is representing democracy being attacked,
yeah.
and he is protecting those values that we should definitely be upholding as well. I mean, we do, but it seems with
Seems like
some
it's been
country,
blurred.
right, or certain parts of democracy is upheld while some others languish. Ukraine is actually saying, no, 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 we are a democracy. We want to be autonomous. We want to be independent. And we are going to defend what we believe is a moral good to give people the choice for their destiny to do what they want, not just with themselves, but either their direction in their country's future or the future of their country,
Hmm.
and not to be governed by someone else. Especially when Ukraine had been governed by someone else for almost 70 years. Um,
Longer than that.
or actually, yeah, yes,
Yeah, it's like since Ukraine's
centuries,
existence.
centuries, and Ukraine just wants to be autonomous. They just want to be independent to run themselves. Um, so to see Zelensky actually win this title is
Well deserved.
well deserved because you know what? I don't want to be in a situation. I don't envy him, despite
No.
the world, and the world democracy has all these eyes are focused on him because if he loses, democracy in a sense also goes down with it because he is right now the most precious being out there because he wants to show the world that this is something you believe in for democracy is doing the right thing.
Yeah, yeah.
The moment if that dies, democracy might have a shedding effect
I mean, oh, go ahead.
um, where worlds where countries might shed democracy that they may not be so convinced of.
Like
They're going to
Afghanistan.
see, yeah, they're going to see democracy as a weak um, form of government that Belarus, Russia, China, North Korea can then say, "Hey, yeah, this is representative democracy, and look how weak it is." Um, you know, if Ukraine loses, there won't be a Ukraine left to speak of, and democracy takes a major hit from those that are enthusiastic of keeping it.
Yeah, and this might. I mean,
This is definitely the ultimate war of moral good to keep faith in democracy, because this is a country fighting for it. Um, you know what? That's We need to show the world that corruption has no place.
Mm-hmm.
And even if it means slaughtering civilians in missile strikes, they're going to keep fighting because they know that it's right and they know that it's just. So, you know what?
Of course, I think we all can agree that we don't want to see either Russian or Ukrainian people dying as a result of this shit.
Yeah, it's a pretty dumb
Like,
war.
whether it be soldiers or civilians, like, most of those I feel bad for the poor Russian soldiers because they were all misled to believe that, oh, yeah, this is a military exercise. And then they realized, oh, shit, we're actually across the border.
Hmm.
Like, this isn't a drill. Like, we're actually going to war. And then it turned out a lot of them have little to almost no experience. Like, all
Hmm.
their seasoned veterans from either the Cold War era or like the Chechen wars are either too old or too fat that they're
Or
not.
already dead from
Yep.
this war, because some warlords in our history have said, "Where can you go when all the best have already gone?" Like, all of your best soldiers in a war are likely the ones to die first. And whatever they teach the new generation is what you're hoping that they can carry that on. What happens if they're all gone? Where can you go from there? And it's only a crapshoot of what can happen next.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that's all we have
I
for
think so
tonight.
too. Yeah, it's an hour 12. It's a shorter episode, so I'm. It's hard for me to stay
You're
up.
you're tired.
Oh
I'm
God.
tired, and I'm
Yeah.
tired too. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, actually, that sounds like a good idea. So, unless you got something else to
Nope,
say,
I've got
okay,
nothing else to
I got
say.
nothing to say either. So, this has been a very, very tiring episode of the
Taxing.
very taxing, tiring, tentative testicle
Testicle?
testing tungsten
Now you're
testosterone.
just like trying to type in every possible sentence that starts with a T, like a hard T.
Mr. T.
T-Pain. we are
Tyrone.
we are so tired.
It's gotten pretty silly, but oh my God, the wave of tired is just hitting me now. So
Yeah, so
it's probably a good time to sign this off. So
yup.
we'll have another episode at some point soon. So this has been another episode of the Zooming Who's podcast.
You usually
Okay.
start.
And I am your host once again, Dustin Husky.
I'm your co-host for the evening, Wolf.
And thanks for tuning in tonight. So,
Merry Christmas, everybody, and if we don't do it, Happy New Year's.
happy oops. And then Happy New Year.
Ah!
I'm sure we'll probably do one before then. But until then, you take care.
Yup.
Bye. End stream. Yeah.